Guinea has just been through a challenging couple of years with the West African Ebola epidemic, taking a toll not only in terms of human lives, but also on the economy. The economy of Guinea had been growing steadily since President Alpha Condé took office in 2011, and now that the crisis is finally behind them, business is returning to the country, and that growth can pick up where it left off. To talk about that, we have Daria Teresa in the studio with us today. She's a project coordinator for World Investment News, and she was recently in Guinea with our very own Omar Al-Asfari. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation, Steph.
So let's start with the most pressing question. Guinea was declared Ebola-free in December of last year. How has the country been recovering since then?
Before the Ebola outbreak, Guinea has started to deliver unprecedented amounts of economic growth and investment. Just for you to know, from 2013 to 2015, Guinea has signed around $30 billion US for investment projects. And since the Ebola crisis, the economic growth has dropped from 4.7 to 1.1%. So actually, when we arrived to Guinea 1 month after a World Health Organization announced Guinea an Ebola-free country, we couldn't see the economic growth to be at very fast pace. But on the other hand, the people that we interviewed were very enthusiastic about the future, and they had the hope that Alpha Condé, the president, and now re-elected in 2016, will be able to move forward the country with his economic reforms concerning mining, education, and energy sector.
Can you give us an overview of the economy of the country? What are the sectors at the moment that show promise for the near future?
Guinea is still one of the poorest countries in Africa in the world, but on the other hand, a medium term of economic outlook remains positive. Guinea's economy is largely dependent on agriculture and mineral production, and this country is one of the biggest producers of bauxite, but it also has rich deposits of minerals as gold and diamonds. On the other hand, there is considerable potential for fishing and agricultural sectors because of the land and climate that will allow to maintain this agriculture and agro-processing on large scale.
The country has been investing a lot in its energy infrastructure of late. Obviously, if you want to develop your business sector and your industry, you need a lot of energy. So what's the state of the energy sector in Guinea, and where do you see it going?
Energy is so far one of the biggest priorities of the Guinean government. In May 2015, the first turbine of the Caleta Dam was activated, providing thousands of people with high-quality energy. Other major hydroelectric projects, including Swapiti Dam, has just been set for the development, and we can say that the ambition of Alpha Condé is to make of the Guinea this energy hub for the region.
So mining is a huge part of the economy, especially in terms of bauxite. So how big is that industry exactly, and how big can it get in the future?
There are 25 billion of tons of bauxite in Guinea. Probably it's around half of the world's reserve of bauxite. As you said, mining sector has enormous contribution to the Guinean economy, up to 25%, and being the bauxite the main contributor to the economy. The past few years have been characterized by ongoing programs to modernize and restructure the mining sector, including the reform of mining regulations undertaken by President Alpha Condé. So the most important mining actors would be today CBG, SMB and ANAIM, and they are working in strict collaboration with the government. As far as you ask about the future of the mining sector, I can tell that the government is planning to diversify the sector and start to produce alumina and aluminium apart from bauxite only.
Because you mentioned that Guinea has 50% of the world's bauxite deposits, which is absolutely huge. And at the moment, it's the second largest producer of bauxite in the world, but it could become the first in the near future. Transport is also an area that has a lot of potential with renovations in the port and also a railway project that would give landlocked West African countries access to the Atlantic and therefore to global trade. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Mm-hmm. The Ministry of Transport is currently working on several internal transport infrastructure projects, including the railways that will connect the mines of bauxite with the northern port of Matakoy. On the other hand, the highway to Sierra Leone and Liberia is being under construction. We cannot forget about the port of Conakry, that thanks to its strategic geographical position and some recent reforms can be a competition to the major ports of the region, which are Dakar and Abidjan.
Education is an area that has a lot of room for improvement, well, throughout the world, but especially in Africa. What's the situation now with regards to education in Guinea?
Mm-hmm. I think the best way to answer this question is to give you some precise data. Today, the literacy rate is 27% for male and 21% for female. And primary school participation rate is 88% for male and 77% for female.
So, how can it get better in the future?
Mm-hmm. Actually, the education has been already improving since Alpha Condé was elected. Education as a share of national budget has improved by 30%. And World Investment News actually had opportunity to interview the Minister of Higher Education, and he gave us the overlook of the reforms that he's going to undertake, and those include improvement of school conditions, the bigger participation of rural areas in the education, and training for teachers.
So obviously the national language in Guinea is French. I think most if not all of your interviews are in French. In terms of business in the country, is French absolutely necessary? What's the situation there?
When we interviewed some ministers and people from private and public sector, and the leaders from private and public sectors, we realized that most of the people speak French, but many of them also spoke fluent English, because the high management in politics and private sector studied abroad in the best universities of the world, because there are many educational programs that allow internships.
Thank you very much. So you can find our 4-page report about Guinea in the September issue of Harvard Business Review.
There's a number of personalities that we would like to thank for their support for our project. President Alpha Condé, Minister of Mining, Mr. Magasuba, Minister of Higher Education, Mr. Balde, and Governor of the Central Bank, Mr. Nabe, as well as Director of CBG, Mr. Condé, and Director of ANAIM, Mr. Cisse.
We'd also like to thank our team, of course, Daria, Teresa, but also Omar Lesfari and our Vice President, Stephanie Huertas. For more information, you can head to our website, www.wine.com. That's WINNE for World Investment News. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. For World Investment News, I'm Aron.
And Daria, Teresa.
Thank you for watching.